I am so curious. Is the world of work becoming increasingly more sober? Is this a movement that is happening? And from your standpoint, where those fluctuations are maybe from, years past?
Over the last even 4 years, 30% of our country has made the decision to quit drinking. Although vast, it's still such a small percentage of people that have made the decision. And Alcoholics Anonymous is such a beautiful program, but that word anonymous has kept people in the dark to say, I'm not going to share this story. I'm not going to live out loud and let people know this is who I am and this is what I've experienced. And that's where my work is so different because I'm not afraid to share all of the messiness that I have gone through. I think that it needs to be shared. I think that it needs to be out there. Somebody somewhere is going to resonate and say, that's me. I want to be part of this movement. Show me how.
The idea of job security is outdated as a landline. If you haven't been in a search for a while, it's probable you will at some point, by choice or not. Most executives admit to staying way too long or sense what's coming and justify staying anyway. There's another reason. The faulty belief that navigating to what's next will inevitably be worse and has to suck. Screw that. Lauren Greif has spent a lifetime in corporate and executive search, calling bullshit on stale career advice that most still use. This is Career Blast in a Half, the career podcast for executives ready to cut past outdated career advice to fuel your outcomes now. So let's go.
Oh my goodness. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. And I am so excited. I actually have a very special sober sister here with us today because we're talking about this topic that only Brittany has her arms around in the way that she does. And it's Brittany Young. Many of you are huge, ardent followers of Brittany on LinkedIn. And what we're talking about is the topic that's near and dear to her and is also near and dear to me, which is, what would your work life look like or your career look like without the booze? And so thank you so much, Brittany Young, for just being you and for leading such a huge effort and putting yourself out there vulnerably and risking a lot of things that most people find to be very private and confidential. And so please, please, please help people understand not just like who you are, but now I'm going to ask you who you are and how did you get to this as part of your mission?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And second of all, this is our third try to get on to this show. So the powers that be were trying to block this conversation because they don't want anyone hearing what we have to say when it comes to being sober curious or being sober. And how did I get here? So a little bit of the background story with this is I got sober in 2013 after 10 years of battling alcoholism and drug use. And I got to the point where I lost everything, friends, family. I mean, money wasn't even in my pocket at that point. There was holes burning at the bottom of them. And I just needed somebody or something to pull me out of the depths of what I was experiencing. I had lost jobs. I made a fool of myself at work. There are nights where, I still can't remember at happy hours or going to work function and not knowing how I wound up the next day in a hotel room. And it just dawned on me that this was not the life that I wanted to live or be part of or experience anymore. So when I surrendered on September 18th of 2013, I turned my life over to God. And I made a promise to myself that at some point in my career, I was going to help at least one person find sobriety. And so I got into doing personal training and was working with people in recovery from drugs and alcohol, helping them, get sober, stay sober, helping them get fit through fitness as well as nutrition. And it was a calling. It was on my heart. I was so in love with what I was doing. And then I started getting greedy, and I started seeing money, and I started seeing, oh, I could go back and do sales coaching and consulting. And so I made the switch to do that. And I had been doing that up until January of this year. And then I get a little knock on my door from God again in January saying, hey, we're not doing this anymore. We're shutting this door, and your sales business is being closed down. Sorry, not sorry. And I'm going to give you the path, but you have to work through some stuff first. So it's been a journey up until, I would say, July, when I launched this new path. And it is near and dear to my heart. Alcohol saved my life, as I like to say, in many different ways. And it brought me to my knees, and also gave me an opportunity to see that I didn't need it anymore in order to perform at work or even in my life. And so as I'm on this journey of helping sober curious professionals find their way towards sobriety, really reclaim their identity and get really clear on what their truth is, I've had to go through my own stuff and really get vulnerable and raw. And I started on LinkedIn, because why not put your entire life and your entire story out there for other people to see? Because I know that there is at least that one person that needs their life saving, and I'm going to help them do that.
All right. I got all the goose pimples here, and help us just understand, put some parameters on it for us. So, like when you say sober curious, when you say sober, when you say coaching, help us understand, because I know that you have your own specific methods, and help our audience understand when they should call you. Like when should they reach out to you, and how and in what capacity will they benefit?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what I'm not. I am not an AA sponsor. I am not helping people who are at the bottom of the barrel, who are, drinking liters of vodka every day and need rehab. I totally believe in AA and the program that it provides for millions of people till this day, since the 1930s. And rehab has its special place as well. As for me and who comes to me, it's the man or woman who find themselves 3 to 5 drinks deep almost every night. And their boss comes to them and says, hey, did you get that report done? And it's not finished. And this is happening on a reoccurring basis. And they're sinking further and further down into the depths of using alcohol to numb whatever they're experiencing, whether it's unsatisfaction at work or in their marriage or their relationships. And they're using alcohol as that crutch because they don't feel worthy enough to express their truth, to believe in who they are, to speak up and speak out for what they really desire. And so that is the person that comes to me and says, I'm teetering on the fence of having an issue, not quite there yet. I don't really resonate with men in a church basement. And I also know that I don't need rehab, because I really need to stay in my job. And so if you're finding yourself at that place where, you have some awareness that that alcohol is blocking you from your full potential, that's when you call me.
I'm so glad that you made that distinction, because you're not here to necessarily walk people through the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. You're not a 12-step program, and you're also not going to be able to provide the medical care that they require if they are in rehab and detoxing and all that stuff. So when these people come to you, what is the ultimate goal? What is success for them? What does that look like? So they come, they work with you. What does success look like?
You know, Lauren, I think success is measured so differently for each one of us. I personally have redefined it for myself this year. Actually, more recently, in the last couple of weeks, of success used to be measured by money in the bank account and having the great job. That's always been modeled for me as success. I grew up with a very successful father, still is, and I viewed that as my measurement. Now, I view success in such a different way, and it is viewed in a way that if I am breathing, I have a purpose. And because I have a purpose,
Mm.
I am looking to a higher power for what that purpose is, what that calling is. So, in that purpose, success gets measured by my truth. What truly
Mhm.
is my purpose? What is my calling? Why am I here? And how many people do I get to impact? So, if you can start to look at success as impact and begin to put people before profits, which is actually the name of my company, you're going to start to go down a road that you have never explored before in such depth. There are going to be times where you can expect success to show up and you can expect to basically fall flat on your face because you're wanting more than you deserve. So success is measured. I mean, it's so different for everybody. And I would put that question back on the audience. Have you sat down to actually define and measure
Mhm.
success? And can it be measured? Because a lot of the time it can.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter if it's tangible or intangible. The other part of success is, can you go inward and really explore what that true purpose of your life is? Can you forgive the parts of yourself
Mhm.
that are no longer serving you and begin to see what's on the other side of that truth and take action on what that is?
Yeah, this is the real stuff, right? The
Yep.
inside job. The inside job, we're so focused on what the outside looks like, and I like to call it the packaging or the cosmetics, but when the insides are not necessarily in alignment, it's fine to have a good package, but it doesn't necessarily fill your heart or make you wake up every day and be energized to show up wherever it is. I'm so curious, and I'm sober curious too. I am so curious. Is the world of work, is it becoming increasingly more sober? Is this a growing, and I hate to use the air quotes, trend? Is this a movement that is happening? And I'm curious again, from your standpoint, where those fluctuations are maybe from, years
Mhm.
past.
I think the sober curious movement has been defined in the last decade. I would say if you statistically take a look at what's been going on, especially in the US, over the last even 4 years, since people have really woken up since COVID and taken a look at who am I, why am I here? At least those are the people that I surround myself with. If you look at the statistics with the US, 30% of our country has made the decision to quit drinking. And that doesn't mean that
Wow.
those people are alcoholics. That doesn't mean that they were, off to rehab or they're going to AA or any of those type of things. But this younger generation that's coming after me, what's that, Gen Z, they're making a decision that they don't need alcohol in their life to perform. They don't need it to succeed. And they're starting to see that it's been used for so long for people like you and me as that numbing crutch. So I do
Mm-hmm.
believe that there is a movement here. I'm not the one that started it. I know that there are other people out there that have created even the term sober curious. I'm just continuing the movement. I don't think that it's a trend. I think that it actually is here to stay. The unfortunate part is alcohol accounts for 2.9% of our GDP. And so, how can we, as a country,
Mm.
as a society, start to build our awareness muscle around where are we seeing these advertisements? Are our children in front of the screen watching this? What's their point of view? And I don't know about you,
Mm.
but back in the day when I was in grade school, the cops came in and they talked about LSD and mushrooms and crack cocaine, but not once was alcohol mentioned. So I'm dating myself, but 30 years ago, nobody was saying this is a drug and it needs to be
Mm-hmm.
looked at as such. And we still find ourselves, you're going out to an event, especially if you're finding you're in between jobs and you're networking and you're trying to figure out, you know, I'm going to go to a career fair and there's a bar there. And you say, hey, this is great, love this, but I don't drink. Everyone looks at you as if you have three heads. And you feel so awkward because you're there to try to get a job. You're not there to try to explain to people, hey, I don't drink. This is ridiculous. But we're still in that stigma. So I find myself a lot
Mm.
of the time raising the awareness because the sober, curious movement, although vast, it's still such a small percentage of people that have made the decision that this is not the lifestyle that they want anymore. And Alcoholics Anonymous is such a beautiful program, but that word anonymous has kept people in the dark to say, I'm
Mm.
not going to share this story. I'm not going to live out loud and let people know this is who I am and this is what I've experienced. And that's where my work is so different, is because I'm not afraid
Mm-hmm.
to share
Mm-hmm.
all of the messiness that I have gone through. I think that it needs to be shared. I think that it needs to be out there. Somebody somewhere is going to resonate and say, that's me. I want to be part of this movement.
Mm-hmm.
Show me how.
Mm. Yes, that is true, right? There are a lot of silent sufferers,
Yeah.
and I could say that from my own personal experience, and I also echo a lot of your crusade, and I don't mean that in a hyperbolic way or in a culty way at all. The belief that alcohol doesn't necessarily have to be part of the equation. Sometimes I've said, hey, it's just not on my
Yeah.
menu. People will say to me, why aren't you drinking? And I think that what I would love to have you address, because I'm sure that this comes up in your community and with your clients on a regular basis, is how to be able to protect yourself, politely defect and decline, and be able to stand in your place or power with respect to the relationships that you have in your
Mm-hmm.
career. Because in many, many industries, and I know sales is one of them, that is a currency. Going for drinks, whatever that is, that's part of the way that social connection is
Yeah.
solidified. So how do you address that, and what do you say to people, or what is some of your
I
suggestions?
think there's a really big difference between men and women in this particular scenario. We women feel like we need to explain everything. Oh, I stopped drinking and here's why. I'm going to give you the 5 points as to why I stopped. What if it just was, that's not part of my lifestyle anymore? Period.
Mm-hmm.
With men will say, not tonight, not tonight, not interested.
Mm,
And so, what I love
mm,
about that is they're claiming I'm not drinking, period. And I don't need to explain.
mhm,
So, ladies, if you're listening to this and you're going to those sales meetings, and trust me, I've got plenty of those stories where I've been out and about and I've watched people get really intoxicated and inebriated to the point where they're, you know, taking each other home as coworkers, or the next day everybody's talking about what happened and you feel left out because you didn't drink, or everybody else had a good time and you just saw all the debauchery and you don't really know what to think. But if you're involved in these sales meetings and you're going out to these big functions and you're, high up on the totem pole and you're looking around going, "Oh man, I probably need a cocktail just to survive, just to fit in." Do you though? Think about tomorrow. What does
mm,
tomorrow look like? Is that going to feel good? So can you just say, "Hey, actually, it's not part of my lifestyle right now," and leave it at that? And you
mhm.
do not need to explain anything further.
Right. And in in that process, right? I'm curious if the resistance is because they're afraid that they won't be liked or included by and large, or is it because somehow it could jeopardize their
No.
advancement or other areas? Because if that's the code of ethics, right? Let's do this or whatever it is. What do they say? Like rosé all day or
Mhm.
one of those things, and you're not part of that. What's the worst thing that can happen? What are they trying to prevent?
Listen, if you're getting fired or you're getting talked about because you're not accepting alcohol as part of your sales currency or part of your work life balance or whatever people are saying these days, you're in the wrong position. You are finding yourself at a crossroads for a reason, and you need to get the F out. It is not serving you, it's not serving your purpose. And there's a reason why you're facing that particular challenge, because somebody's knocking on your door saying, you need to take a look at this. And that's when you pick up the phone and say, I'm at a crossroads. I need some guidance here. I need some help. On the flip side of that, one of the things that I experienced was going to these sales functions when I got sober and people saying, where's your drink? How come you're not celebrating with alcohol? And I would just flat out say, I'm an alcoholic. And then they look at you like, wait, what? And tell us your story. And I would just say, that's none of your concern. Just know that I had a problem and I don't have a problem anymore. And I'd walk away. But I know that there's not a lot of people that are bold in their words that can do that and drop the mic. And that's perfectly okay. But if alcohol is jeopardizing your career, are you sure you want to stay in that career? Are you sure that you want to stay with a company that's not only buying the booze for the employees, but staying with a company that ethically believes that alcohol is above their people? I don't think so.
Mm. So I I am so thrilled that you're a part of this major movement and are a major part of this messaging on LinkedIn. I'm curious if you had to pick maybe the one or two myths about alcohol that people prescribe to, what would those be?
Number one, alcohol has health benefits. Wine culture has health benefits. And we'll debunk that myth by saying, do you know what additives are going into your wine? Do you know how many
Okay.
bugs are actually processed in your glass of wine? No, you do not.
Oh boy. Okay. So, myth number one, that alcohol is somehow like this, or wine is somehow good for your
Yes.
health.
Yes.
Myth number two.
Myth number two, I would say, is alcohol advances your career.
Mm, okay. So because I'm part of this social club, right? That helps me to leverage my position, maybe my promotion, maybe my status in the organization. Do you have any bonuses that you want to include in here?
Well, to debunk that, I mean, I would ask myself, how? What's the how behind that? If you look back at your path, how has alcohol helped you get from, let's say, an executive assistant to the director? Was it
Mm-hmm.
really alcohol, or was it the fact that you were worthy of receiving those positions because of how smart you are
Mm-hmm.
and how respected you are?
And when people come into your community and they are in a place where they're not necessarily using alcohol, or they're in a place where it's becoming less and less and less part of their life, what is the upside? What are the three biggest kind of like, OMG, I did not realize what was happening? What are those aha moments?
Well, number one, it's not just a sober, curious community. This is a business networking opportunity for you. You get to build relationships with people that are clear headed, that have awareness, that are taking action not only in their life, but in their businesses. So you get the benefit of that. But when you get into the community and you have this aha, I would say the first thing is, wow, I didn't realize that all of these people are no longer living in their past. They see their
Mm.
past for what it is, but they're not staying there. And I think that's a big difference between my community and, again, a church basement of AA. Number two is we're actually sharing our current experiences. So, for instance, yeah, I shared the other day of how I haven't been sleeping with my daughter. She's been sleep regressing. And I put a video up about that. And it got a lot of hits, and people were calling me, messaging me. And had I not done that, had I just shared the words, I don't think that people would truly feel what it is to go through the experience that I'm currently in. And so being able to share in a community and actually see the other person, see their feelings, come face to face with their truth, their reality, and be able to hold space. That's a really big aha. And I would say the third
Mm-hmm.
is my favorite part is being able to hold each other accountable when you say that you're going to do something. That has been the biggest difference in my personal journey. When I say I'm going to do something and I actually don't get it done, is anybody really holding my feet to the fire? Chances are no. In this community, you don't get to escape like that. I'm either hunting you
Mm.
down, or somebody else in your pod is going to come after you and say, did you get so and so done? Because we are not just about staying sober, we're about seeing you successfully succeed, in the fact that we want your business to be the best that it can. We want you to have the clarity, the peace of mind that you deserve when you're sober. And also, can you stop measuring your worth by the dollar sign, and can you start measuring it by the people that you're surrounding yourself with, and also how you bring these actions, whatever it is that you're doing in your life, let's say it's career coaching, can we hold your feet to the fire? And can you accept the accountability? It is a two-way street, as we know. And so I got to keep myself accountable as much as I got to keep you accountable. And that's a really big part of this community.
Mm. So accountability, huge community that is supporting you, and also people who are clear-headed and thinking rationally and not just about themselves. So, oh boy, Brittany Young. If you are not following Brittany Young, get a game on, because her content is real. And yes, sometimes it's raw, but again, this is by design to be able to reach people who may be in hiding or may be suffering and don't have a place to go. So you are truly just a trailblazer in so many ways. And I appreciate so much what you've done for me personally, but also for helping other people who are dealing with that curiosity and or need a safe place to go. And we can never have too many of those, especially on social media and on LinkedIn. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We will include show notes, the link to get to Brittany. Also, check out her BS methodology, and we will include that there so that you can reach her, assuming you are sober curious and fit some of the criteria that she had outlined in our podcast. So we love you and thank you. And by the way, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please go ahead and subscribe now. You have no idea how much we appreciate it and how much we need you, because, hey, there's a lot of podcasts out there. And if you like this and you are a listener, please pass this on. Every one of you matters to us. So write a review, subscribe, and know in advance we thank you. So we'll see you next week, and have a great one. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining today. We appreciate your listening ears. Big time. We ask this: use these tools, not tomorrow, right now, and share them by spreading the love, leaving us a rating and subscribe so you don't miss the next career blast in a half. Most of all, thank you for you.